Today on Ian vs. Daddybones, we are talking all about yesterday's big-ass news announcement, and I'm gonna open up He-Man and Skeletor with pants.
Oh boy, kids, we're gonna have fun today!
Yay! Hey! Alright!
How is everyone doing tonight?
Welcome back! It's another exciting episode of Ian vs. Daddybones. I'm Ian Daddybones. I want to say what's up to everybody who subscribe over on the YouTube channel. What's up, y'all? Special high five and a knuck tap to all the Patreon subscribers. Subscribing for just $1 a month for 30 days access to bonus content and getting your names in the credit. What's up, everybody? Today on the show, we have got some major news announcements that was revealed yesterday by Mattel. Everybody else has already talked about it. Now it's my turn. And that's the future of Masters of the Universe Origins and Revelations, and how it fits into the rest of 2023 and even rolls into 2024. So, starting that off on the Origins end, and I'm going to be posting a picture of this right now up on the screen so y'all can see the graphic that was revealed yesterday. So I'm going to work my way around it. Up top we got Origins. So starting off, this is going to be, now a lot of these figures are out of order because some of these figures have been announced for Wave 13 and Wave 14, but with the way they're placed, some of them look like they are out of order. But starting off on the left, and we're going to basically just go around like a clock, but starting off on the left, we got Young Randor, it says. Young King Randor. Basically 2000X Burger King Randy. The difference between this King Randor and the other King Randor is this one's younger, and this one has visibly lost one of his legs in the Great War, so now he has a mechanical leg. And moving on, we have Snake Tila. Now, this is a version of Tila that got, I believe, infected by the Snake Men, and the snake venom's going through her veins and whatnot, and transformed her into a snake version of Tila, who's mind controlled by the Snake Men, but that has its own future ramifications where Snake Tila becomes the Green Goddess, and she's basically worshipped by the Snake Men, like C-3PO was with the fucking Ewoks and shit. And then moving on, we have the Eternian Guard Infiltrator is what it's called. Basically, it's another Eternian Palace Guard figure, only this time the area where, like, the Eternian Palace Guard is wearing his helmet and face mask. So the original figure, you can see the skin on his face, you can see his eyes. This time around, he's green skin and he's got like the red snake eyes and shit. And then moving on, we got Slamurai. Slamurai is basically a recolored Ninjor. You got Ninjor, the black and red ninja evil villain character. Slamurai never came out in the original line. I believe he was supposed to, but they never got a chance to because the line was canceled. However, Slamurai did get a Masters of the Universe Classics figure. Basically, he's white and blue, where Ninjor is black and red. So, if you compare him to G.I. Joe, Slamurai is basically the Storm Shadow to Ninjor's Snake Eyes. Moving on, you have Snake Armor Man-at-Arms, which is a version of the 2000X Man-at-Arms Snake variant that came out where Man-at-Arms had his like snake claw weapon and shit, and he's a different shade of green with his overall like bodysuit, costume, whatever the fuck. Moving on, you have the Snake Trooper, which is basically a black armored Horde Trooper with, instead of the Horde Trooper head, it has a Snake Man head. Moving on, you have Squeeze. Squeeze he was released in the second wave of Snake Men figures in the vintage line. Squeeze is best remembered for having the really long arms that had the wire in the arms, so they were like all bendy and shit, and you can pose him and wrap his arms around characters and shit and squeeze them. Moving down below on the list on the right side, you have the Snake Men bundle, and I've looked into this more. This is actually a 4-pack. You basically get 3 generic Snake Men jobber characters. And these are basically made up of Snake Men parts from other Snake Men figures. So basically, you're getting figures that are reusing 2 Cobra Khan bodies. You got 1 figure that's reusing the Rat Lore body. Even comes with the Rat Lore neck. And it also comes with the Camo Khan open-hooded alternate head. Only it's all in blue. And honestly, this blue long neck hooded Cobra Snake figure was actually shown at Comic-Con last year in July when they first showed off Eternia and had the big ass display. It was fucking sick. But it basically looks like you got, and it looks like too like it's the Rat Lore head that's on the Horde Trooper, and it looks like it's a Rat Lore head on the Cobra Khan body, and one's green, one's red, and you got the blue Snake Man figure. But the 4th figure, you get a variant of Snake Armor He-Man, where the regular original retail Snake Armor He-Man is silver and green. Basically, the green got swapped out for black this time around, so you got a silver and black Snake Armor He-Man. That looks pretty cool. So it's actually neat because this news dropped yesterday, and today the majority of these figures all went available for pre-sale online. And I'm gonna be honest too. A lot of these I have already went ahead and pre-ordered. I basically pre-ordered everything that's of first importance to me. So everything that I wanted really, really fucking bad, I made sure I pre-ordered. Every shit that I've been waiting on to get announced, I've been jumping on. But moving down, we got Flocked Moss Man. And this has already been revealed. Moss Man's gonna be a deluxe figure. I believe he's gonna be a Walmart exclusive, but he's gonna be basically like a $24 figure compared to the $20 regular retail, which is about what they're going for. Some Origins figures you're able to find for like $18.99 at like Target, but Walmart has them for like $20 in other places, especially if they're like brick and mortar toys and collectible shops. You know, they don't do retail prices, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're trying to run a business and whatnot, and it says right on it, toys and collectibles. Keyword is collectibles. You know what I mean? They don't have to give you retail anything. But basically, Flocked Moss Man's coming out. He's gonna be the deluxe price. Moving on, you got mini comic Manny Faces. Now, I kind of jumped right into going into this big epic news drop because honestly, I've been like, holy shit, about everything I'm talking about right now. I'm really excited about it right now. So I kind of just jumped right into the news announcements without even really focusing first on everything that I got on the table right now. But basically, I'm about to go into talking about the fact that mini comic Manny Faces is coming out, which is interesting to me because I'm like looking into it. Like now that they revealed these figures, they got other photos that are available, so you can get a more detailed look at the figures from different angles with all their accessories and shit. And in Manny Faces' case, you can see pictures of him with the 3 different faces that this figure offers this time around. And it's interesting because right here on the table, I have my Masters of the Universe New Eternia Manny Faces figure. And I wanted to have him up here because I know this was getting announced, so I wanted to be able to bounce and reference between the two. But basically, this Manny Faces for New Eternia, he's a more detailed deluxe version of Manny Faces because he has the 3 traditional faces that Manny Faces has always had: man, machine, monster. but the original concept for Manny Faces had different ideas for faces he would have, and in this particular Manny Faces figure, since he's an actor, he basically has his disguise kit. You know what I mean? And he has his disguise case, and he has 3 alternate faces for the Masterverse figure. So he's got his man, machine, robot that we're all familiar with, but he also has 3 alternate faces in the form of he has man, skull face, and he has Keldor, which is kind of weird because he has the Keldor face, and that was seen before, but it wasn't seen before because Manny Faces got a Masters of the Universe Classics figure, and the Masters of the Universe Classics figure had alternate Manny Faces faces. However, those alternate Manny Faces faces was a He-Man, a Skeletor, and an Orko alternate face. So it's interesting how like the skull and the the skull was taken from the original inspiration, you know, and he has the different look of his man face, which I believe is the Filmation, his Filmation face. I could be wrong on that. I might be wrong on that, but I know he has 2 different versions of his man face, and you know, it's a really sick figure nonetheless. But going back to the Origins mini comics Manny Faces, this Manny Faces is more in line to how he looked on the back of the packaging with his concept art and how he looked in the mini comics. Because the thing with Manny Faces was he had his like blue armor with like his purple, magenta, depending on how you looked at the color, the tubing and piping around his outfit. But he also had like this bright ass orange skin. So you're not sure if Manny Faces was wearing a suit or if it was supposed to be his skin tone. People really couldn't figure that out or get a definite answer on that. So you looked at the figure once you took him out of package, but then you looked at the back of the package and even the mini comic that had, and where it had like the cross-sell art and shit, and you noticed that like the Manny Faces in the drawing was different colors in the actual figure. He had more of a pale skin tone compared to the bright orange, and it was like a darker shade of purple, darker shade of blue type shit. But you know, you're gonna be off a shade and whatnot when it comes to the overall finished paint sometimes. But in Manny Face's case, he definitely looked like. He looked very similar, but you could tell that there were subtle differences, just like with Merman having a completely different shaped face between the cross-sell art and the fucking character. So this Manny Faces is coming out looking the way he was supposed to look. He has 3 additional faces. He has man, monster, skull, and his monster face actually has like my Manny Face's monster face, he has like black dots for like the eyes and shit. But the I believe so. I got to go back and double check that. Maybe I'm getting him confused with Trapjaw real quick with the way the Trapjaw has his face this time around. But basically what I'm getting at is with Manny Faces, he has his monster face. And he has the way the monster face looks on the regular on the vintage, not vintage, but the first Origins release Manny Faces. He has that monster face, but the one on the mini comics monster face, there's like white applied to the eyes, so I want to say it kind of looks a little goofy, more cartoony for the monster face, but that skull look is fucking dope. And real quick with the new attorney Manny Faces for the Masterverse. Manny Faces in Origins, he has the traditional turn drum mechanism for changing the faces on the character. This friggin' character doesn't have the action feature mechanism that spins the faces. He actually has like thumbnail faces like plates that like slide into position on the front of his face. So he basically comes with like a bunch of thumbnail-sized faces to put on that motherfucker. But I'm gonna get to him at some point, and I'm probably gonna save this Faces until this Faces come out, and then I could do a gigantic Faces episode. But moving on, there's a Skeleton Warrior 2-pack. Now, at Comic-Con, when they showed off Eternia and all the new characters that are getting announced now, in addition to like the Snake Men that are now available, they were shown off for the first time at Comic-Con when they unveiled Eternia. They also showed these skeleton figures in the background, which if you collect Masters of the Universe Origins, you know what I'm talking about. All the packaging art for like everything, vehicles, figures, the box of Castle Grayskull, you'll see like these skeleton warriors being summoned from the ground or being summoned into battle by Skeletor or Evil Lyn. But they're basically just like these glowing skeleton figures wearing this armor that has like a horned bat on it, but it's like a Skeletor bat too. And they got like helmets with like horns and shit. And they're just these generic goons that are just meant to be destroyed. So they were shown off, but ever since last July, nothing's been said about these figures since. People have been asking about it. Now we're getting information about them. So now the Skeleton Warriors are going to be released as a 2-pack, so that way you have some army build characters that you could just throw in with your figures, however you display your shit. Now you got 2 more. Last year, they decided to release Teela and Zor 2-pack. You got Zor, the classic eagle, falcon. I mean, it was based on the Big Jim Eagle, but it's Zor the Falcon, the sorceress in her falcon form, even though it's the gigantic ass bird. So the size difference has always been like off. You got the big ass toy, but in the cartoon she's a little falcon. It's fucking weird. But Zor had his evil counterpart, Screech, and Screech was around in the 80s, and basically they're putting Screech out in Origins, and Screech is being available in a 2-pack, and Screech is coming with this Skeletor figure, and it's a really cool Skeletor, because at first people heard on the internet that Screech was getting packaged with Skeletor, and honestly, I've said it myself, and I've read numerous people across numerous He-Man Facebook groups say the same thing. Ugh, another Skeletor? Which is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. You know what I mean? It's a good thing when we're getting all the Skeletor variants. It's another thing when it's another variant of a variant of a variant. So I see where people's complaints are coming from, because my honest opinion, if Teela came with Zor, I would expect Evil Lyn to come with Screech, and you could at least do another version of Evil Lyn that could even have an alternate head where she has her white hair, whether it's long or whether it's short. I would have rather seen another Evil Lyn variant in Origins before another Skeletor. But this time around, this Skeletor looks kind of dope, because there was I believe there was a blood red Skeletor variant in the 2000 X line, and I want to believe that this Skeletor with this Screech is an homage to that Skeletor, because this Skeletor has like a brighter but darker purple, but there's also red paint applied and mixed in with it. So you see the purple to red crossover with the colors, but from a distance it looks more like a blood red Skeletor that, at least to me, pays homage or tribute to that blood red Skeletor variant. But he comes with Screech, and now the rumor with this Skeletor figure, it's not been proven, but this Skeletor may have an articulated jaw, because some pictures showed Skeletor with Screech where Skeletor has his mouth closed. Other pictures show him with his mouth open, but for the overall accessories and what's included with the package, it doesn't show an alternate head. It only shows one head on the Skeletor that comes with the figure, but they haven't officially revealed that yet. Now, moving on to the left, and I will gladly say I happily, with a smile on my face, pre-ordered this motherfucker this morning. Dragon Blaster Skeletor. One of the final Skeletor variants from the vintage line to get released in the Origins line. Because honestly, some of the He-Man and Skeletor variants, they're all on the same level with each other as far as they get released. Like you got Battle Armor He-Man, Battle Armor Skeletor. You got Flying Fist He-Man, Terror Claw Skeletor. You have Thunder Punch He-Man. You had Dragon Blaster Skeletor. As a kid, I never had Dragon Blaster Skeletor. My boy Bobby from back in the day, he had Dragon Blaster Skeletor. And honestly, it was one of those figures that I was super jealous of, that he had it and I didn't. And I wanted that figure so bad, and he would never trade me that shit no matter what I tried offering him, and it was fucking nuts. But now here I am, 43 years old, and now Dragon Blaster Skeletor is going to be dropping fall 2023. Spoiler alert. All this shit is supposed to be start becoming available fall to winter 2023. And it's the one thing I can say I've learned collecting Masters of the Universe Origins for the past 2 years. The first year was rough because I was new to the line, even though we were all new to the line collecting it, because we were only able to get what was available at the time, and then we were always waiting for the new shit to drop. But when it came to waves 2 and 3, especially with the pandemic and international distribution, it was a fucking bitch trying to get Trapjaw and She-Ra and Roboto and, you know what I mean, and Orko and Man-E-Faces. It was a fucking pain in the ass. And the shit is, like, last year, after I got caught up on, like, waves 1 through 7, and I'm waiting for waves 8 and 9 to become available for pre-orders, let alone get released, I started collecting Masterverse in that downtime last year. But when I was collecting Masterverse, learning about Mattel Creations and those drops, I was learning about how the calendar year fits into when exactly they distribute the new products. And basically it's broken down by quarters. I mean, it's like that with all sorts of shit. But you got your first quarter drops, your second quarter drops, your third quarter drops, your fourth quarter drops, and you know your waves are released over time. So basically, you're only looking at like 2 waves per quarter, or even 1 wave per quarter. So last year it was Mattel catching up with their distribution issues from the previous year while pushing out the current product. And it, you know, on one hand, it was kind of a clusterfuck across the board, and for some collectors, it's still a clusterfuck. I'm reading on various Facebook groups that some people just can't find what they're looking for, and they're having a bitch of a time trying to even find it. But you know, going back, because I'm kind of rambling at this point, but like Dragon Blaster Skeletor, definitely one of the final variants, because like I said, you had your different level of your variants, and Dragon Blaster Skeletor, Thunder Punch He-Man were the final variants of He-Man and Skeletor released in the United States. However, there was Laser Light He-Man and Skeletor that was supposed to come out, I believe, in 1988, but they were only released internationally because that's when Mattel pulled the plug on the toy line back in the day after the movie shit the bed and basically ruined it for fucking everybody. And then 2 years later, we got fucking New Adventures Space He-Man in a goddamn different scale that, you know, depending on how much you love He-Man, like as a kid, that's when I threw in the towel. When Space He-Man came out, and I got He-Man and Space Skeletor, New Adventures He-Man and Skeletor for Christmas the year they were new and available. But that's basically when I threw in the towel as a kid. Like after my shit got stolen and getting this new dumbass new He-Man. Hated it. But this is absolutely fucking great for me. Just, being able to get reacquainted with all this shit. And it's been a blast, like, hunting down these figures with my kids and shit. But moving on, Snakeface, he's finally getting a release. Now, some of the action, like a lot of the action features from the OG figures by this. I mean, if you've been watching the show, I've talked about plenty of Origins figures, and I've made it clear that Mattel is not focused on action features at all in place of more articulated features. So, Snakeface doesn't have his action gimmick where his snakes pop out of his face and whatnot. And as of right now, it hasn't even been revealed if whether or not his chest plates flip down, revealing snakes that are hidden. But that was a feature on the original character back in the day. This time around, Snakeface has like pop-on eyes. Or no, not even that. Sorry, I was completely wrong on that. This time around, Snakeface just comes with an alternate head that already has his eye, the snakes protruding out of his eyes and mouth. So, I mean, that was part of the cool factor with the original Snakeface. Like, he had the lever in the back so you can make the snakes pop in and out of the face. And plus, he had the chest straps that flip down, revealing the snakes. Kind of like Rio Blast had the chest that flipped down, revealing the gun. Which, by the way, I'm really hoping they make Rio Blast someday. But moving on around the list, you got Spikor, classic, back in the day, Masters of the Universe figure. I believe he's one of the figures from like 1984 that still hasn't came out. But moving up to the left, before we address what's in the middle, you have a Rulers of the Sun 3-pack. Now, at first, this kind of caught me off guard until I got a closer look at this picture. And once they revealed more pictures of these actual figures and explained who they are, I was actually like, oh, okay. Well, these Rulers of the Sun 3-pack is basically, it's the final Rulers of the Sun, the final 3 Rulers of the Sun figures that they are choosing to put out in a 3-pack instead of putting out as standalone figures, which I understand. I totally get it. I mean, I personally have been a big fan of Rulers of the Sun's inclusion into the Masters of the Universe line. I love the backstory behind it as far as its creation and pretty much how, Mattel welcomed it with open arms and now found a place for it within the brand, and it truly belongs. The overall reception from certain fans haven't been the greatest. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people have been very vocal, disrespectful, and just downright toxic and childish when it comes to Mattel including Sunman and the rest of the Rulers of the Sun characters into the line. And so a lot of people have been complaining. Some people have even, refused to have anything to do with them. Well, I'm not going to buy those figures. They could just stay there in the stores. I don't want them. Well, I don't mind having them in my collection. I don't have a problem with it because I'm a 43-year-old adult male. I'm a married man. I'm a father of 4. I don't allow my feelings to be hurt over the skin color of an action figure. So, I don't see what the problem was. But I also look back at the time when I was a 7-year-old kid and I really wanted a Clamp Champ, and I was told I couldn't have a Clamp Champ because I don't need to be playing with a black He-Man figure. Now, I'm not going to put that relative on blast, but that was definitely said to me as a child by a very close relative. So it's shit like that makes me think back to hearing that, why I have no fucking problem. Because it's... You may be a fragile white male getting offended at the fact that there's a minority-based brand within Masters of the Universe, but somewhere you have an Asian kid, a Latino kid, an indigenous child, you have a black kid, black male, black girl, anything. You know what I mean? Everybody that can relate to Rulers of the Sun and point to an action figure and say, hey, he looks like me. It's about that child having a wonderful experience, bonding with a toy, and making fucking memories. You know what I mean? It's not for you to be a fragile fucking adult having a meltdown because this isn't your He-Man anymore. So, I have no problem with the Rulers of the Sun figures being included. Honestly, I just got my Rulers of the Sun Masterverse Sunman, and he's absolutely sick. I can't wait to open that character up on the show. He's gonna be fucking dope. But basically, and unfortunately, I don't have the names of these three figures. I mean, I know one's like Zapman, and there's I believe Kickno might be one of the guy in the middle's name. Okay, I had to do a slight camera edit. My timer was off and it shut down before I was done. But basically, you got the Rulers of the Sun 3-pack, and three characters is basically, I believe the guy on the left with the yellow is Zapman. The guy in the middle is like some techno kickboxer. He's like white with a little bit of pink. And the guy on the right, they just put out a character named Hypno, but this guy is like another hypnotist, telekinesis type dude. But based on the armor he's wearing, that shit looks like a giant ass pizza. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm just gonna fucking call him Pizza Chest, because he's got a really cool sword that's gonna slice it any way you want to dice it. So as far as I'm concerned, he's an ally to the Ninja Turtles that I got. So Pizza Chest looks fucking dope. And if you look really close at Pizza Chest, he's basically got Digitino's head with a fucking beard. It's hilarious. And Zapman also reuses Digitino's head. And Techno Kickboxer, who I like to call Pep Abysmal, he reuses the alternate Sunman head, which is actually just the African American skin tone version of Space Sumo's Asian space telekinesis dude. And that's all Rulers of the Sun has been doing, is just mix and matching parts. So they got the final three releases included in this gift pack, 3-pack, that's gonna be fucking sick. And it's funny though that, like I was saying, for everybody that's bitching and complaining about Sunman and Rulers of the Sun's inclusion in Masters of the Universe, it's funny how the one people seem to really want and the one people are pissed off that they can't find in stores is Duplico, the Cody Rhodes looking fucking multiple man. It's funny how the token white guy is the only guy in the Rulers of the Sun that everybody seems to want, but oh no, everybody else can go sit on pegs and shit. Like, I don't get it. I already did an episode on Rulers of the Sun, and I'm gonna touch base on that episode I did about Rulers of the Sun when I get the Masterverse Sunman, and when I get Masterverse Pighead, I'm gonna revisit that. But I have no problem. I mean, Rulers of the Sun, Sunman was created because he was inspired by He-Man and a mother's love for her son who couldn't relate to He-Man. So she basically made her own bootleg brand that was sold in brick and mortar mom and pop stores until, you know what I mean, it blew up. And there's a wonderful fucking story behind it. And the fact that 40 years later it's now officially part of Masters of the Universe, I don't see what the problem is. And but here we go to the center of the Origins reveals. Now I could already throw out a spoiler alert. I went ahead and pre-ordered this immediately this morning because once I saw the price, I'm like, dude, that is not bad at all. I honestly was expecting at least $25 more, because I was thinking the Talon Fighter and Point Dread I thought was going to run me between $60 to $80. I thought at least it would be like $69, or maybe they could get away with selling it for $59.99. But Point Dread and the Talon Fighter, the Falcon-shaped ship that sits atop of the rock, which also fits on top of Castle Grayskull, is only $45. So I went ahead and pre-ordered that immediately. But the meat and potatoes, the centerpiece of this reveal, which was already revealed previously, but now it's coming this year. Snake Mountain. The second retail playset released for Masters of the Universe Origins, but the third overall playset revealed for the line, if you include the crowd-funded Eternia playset. Now, you got Castle Grayskull, Snake Mountain, you're going to have Eternia next year. If you bought Eternia and backed the crowdfund, we did here at Ian vs. Daddybones, and that's honestly what inspired the dollar Patreon, because slowly but surely I told my wife, look, we're going to get this Eternia, and through the Patreon, we're going to make up for it over the course of the next year, 2 years, no matter what. Ian vs. Daddybones is going to be backing Eternia. But Snake Mountain is going to be the second retail playset for this line. Now, based with the original vintage line, you had Snake Mountain, Castle Grayskull, Snake Mountain, Fright Zone, the Evil Horde Slime Pit. Then you had Eternia at the end of the line. This time around, they put out Grayskull first, crowdfunded Eternia. Now they're doing Snake Mountain. So the Fright Zone and the Slime Pit are the only vintage playsets that haven't been announced or even revealed at all within Mattel for Origins. But we like to be optimistic and think that at some point next year they're probably going to get announced. Because at this point, everything's coming out, and it's like, why stop now? You know, people are buying it. You might as well keep it going and just blow that fucking wad. You know what I mean? Just blow that Motu wad all over our face. Just give us what we want, bro. But Snake Mountain's going to be available for pre-order possibly this spring, I would like to think. And it's set for like an end of summer, fall release. All this shit's supposed to be coming out around fall 2023 and rolling into 2024. But that completes it with the Origins drops. Now, this doesn't include any Mattel Creations drops that are yet to come over the next coming months. Those are going to be revealed at the proper times. But scrolling down, now we're moving on to Masterverse. And I would say, based on these figures, because some of these are titled specifically, and I'll get to that in a moment. But basically, Masterverse with retail, Masterverse is currently on waves 5, 6, 7, and 8 is what's floating around retail currently. For me, I'm caught up with 5. There's one figure I need for 6. There's one figure I need for 7. I have 2 out of the 4 for 8. So I'm staying on track with getting caught up with all my Masterverse, but everything that I'm revealing right now is going to be considered Masterverse waves 9 and 10 with a hint of 11. And the reason I say hint is because usually each wave of Masterverse, it's usually been 4 main figures, 2 deluxes. That's the wave. Or you have a oversized figure, because there's 3 boxes with Masterverse. There's these regular shaped boxes, then there's the square shaped, fatter, oversized boxes, then there's the rectangle shaped deluxe boxes. And usually it's 4 regular size figures, 2 deluxes or an oversized figures, or 1 deluxe, 1 oversized figures. It's each wave is different, and the figure they're releasing is determining what packaging it's getting. But going from left to right up top, we got Merman, which is based on his classic appearance, which was shown in Revelations. So this is a Revelations Merman figure. It's the back in the day version of Kevin Conroy's final performance Merman. But the Merman that I opened on the show was the weathered current Merman from Revelations. This is the classic past Merman. Moving on with the Princess of Power branding, you have Grizzlor. So it's Grizzlor from the Evil Horde, but it's Grizzlor as he appeared in the Princess of Power line. You have Buzz-Off. Next you have Buzz-Off, and Buzz-Off I believe is going to have the new Eternia branding, because Buzz-Off was seen, I believe, in Revelations, but he was only seen in the background. He wasn't like a forefront character, like he didn't get as much screen time as Clamp Champ and Fisto, who barely had screen time alone, but they still got figures. So I'd like to think that Buzz-Off is new Eternia Buzz-Off. We have new Eternia Faker, which is based more on the classics vintage Faker than the Revelations Faker. The Revelations Faker that already came out was its own thing. This is a Faker that looks more like the original Faker that all of us grew up knowing and loving. And the interesting thing about this Faker is Faker had the orange Skeletor armor, an orange Skeletor sword, you know what I mean? So he had the blue skin, the orange He-Man hair, and Faker's classic in his own right. But there was a second run of Fakers that came out in like 1987, and the back of the packaging art for these Fakers, his Skeletor armor was pink on the cross cell instead of orange, even though it was orange on the figure. So this Faker has the pink version of the Skeletor armor instead of the orange, and he has his He-Man battle axe. But what's interesting about his He-Man battle axe is you could tell it's a copy of He-Man's axe, because it's like gold, but the one edge of it, you could see where like the illusion is broken, and you could see the broken the broken axe blade. And the same thing with his pink sword. You could tell that it's an imposter sword, and he also has the gears on it and the mechanics on his chest and shit. So Faker looks pretty sick. Moving on, you got Revelations Clamp Champ. And, he looks absolutely sick. Because, you had Clamp Champ from back in the day. They put out a classics version of Clamp Champ. But they also, I don't believe Clamp Champ got a figure in 2000X. Even though he got, I believe, with the Pixel Dan book I got, he had a classic Staction figure where it was like a statue, action figure mix, whatever the fuck. And he had this like really gigantic, oversized version of his Clamp that looked absolutely sick. And that's somewhat replicated with this. So Clamp Champ looks absolutely sick in Masterverse. Then they got Horde Skeletor, which it's another Skeletor variant to me. And the only thing I could say about this Horde Skeletor is it's nice looking, like they found another way to reuse that Boba Fett cloak that came with Andra. So he's got the hooded cape. And then you got Prince Adam, which I'm excited for, but I'm a little disappointed after seeing the final figure, because Prince Adam, he's skinny, you know what I mean? He's not jacked like He-Man, but since the Masterverse and WWE figures use the same fucking parts, the Prince Adam figure basically has Becky Lynch arms, Becky Lynch legs, you know what I mean? And so he looks like skinny Prince Adam, which is great. It looks like a great Prince Adam figure. But they put out a Savage He-Man figure that came with Orko in Revelations, But at the end of Revelations, there's a version of Orko that was leveled up, where he's wearing this white and red outfit that the internet is dubbing Mage Orko. I would have thought that they would at least put the Orko variant included with the Prince Adam, since you gave Orko with Savage He-Man. But this Prince Adam figure is actually kind of dope for a variety of reasons, because he comes with the Power Sword, but he also comes with like a white and pink glittery version of the Power Sword, which is supposed to represent when he says, by the power of Grayskull, and everything starts to transform. It's like a version of the sword just as it starts to begin its transformation. And there's that Prince Adam meme video with the set to the Four Non-Blondes, What's Going On. They put out my buddy Jay just gave me an action figure recently of the Super 7 laughing Prince Adam figure a couple of weeks ago. It's funny because this Revelations Adam figure comes with the Revelations version of the meme face. So it looks like you pop the alternate head on and Adam's going like, hey, yeah, 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 yeah. So that's dope. You got the Prince Adam figure coming out. I had to get up real quick and check my camera. I keep hearing a buzzing noise going on in the background, so I wasn't sure if it was like my camera making a strange sound, but come to find out it's somebody in the other end of the house using a hairdryer. So now I don't have to worry about my thinking my camera's gonna explode. But moving on to the final level on this amazing graphic, we have Web Store. Honestly, I'm super excited for this Web Store because Web Store was a classic vintage Masters of the Universe character. Web Store has came out in Origins. I actually bought Origins. I was looking forever for Web Store. Couldn't find him anywhere. The night I took my son to go see Spider-Man No Way Home in theaters, boom, we saw him that night at Walmart. It was fucking awesome. But Web Store is getting a Masterverse figure. Moving on, there's Deluxe Ram Man. Now, this Ram Man looks pretty sick because he actually has articulated legs so you could bend his knees and shit. He doesn't have the legs that, shove up his ass and just hop off the ground like Man-E-Faces always did. I mean, not Man-E-Faces, Ram Man. So, this Ram Man actually looks really fucking cool. And, this Ram Man design, he actually comes across more looking like the Juggernaut, which I think is pretty sick. Moving on, you got what's being called Deluxe Clawful. Now, that means Clawful's going to be in the rectangle-shaped box. But Clawful, I believe he's based on the way he was in Revelations, where I believe Evil Lynn was using the shaping staff to disguise herself as Clawful. Trying to fool the sorceress into thinking that He-Man captured Spikor and Clawful, but it was really Faker escorting Evil Lynn and Skeletor, disguising themselves as Spikor and Clawful. So this is Clawful as he appeared in Revelations, but he also comes with additional armor to make Clawful look like how he did in the Filmation series, because I believe he was wearing this armor in the cartoon series that the figure never had, but he comes with this additional armor. Moving on, you got oversized Whiplash. Now this looks pretty cool, and what they mean by oversized is you have the square-shaped boxes, so like the new Attorney of Beastman, oversized figure. Skelegod, oversized figure. I will say Savage He-Man, oversized figure, even though he was in a deluxe box. It was only because he came with Orko. But Too Bad that I opened, Too Bad is an oversized figure because he's just so fucking huge. But Whiplash is going to be like the same size as Too Bad, and he's going to have that tripod with his tail. So when he's standing up and he's got his tail, You know, he's going to look absolutely sick. But he also comes with additional weapons, and he comes with this additional purple armor that the original Whiplash concept was going to have. Like, if you think real quick about the vintage Whiplash figure, he was that green crocodile, alligator type fucking creature and he had his tail, but he also had the purple armor that he had on his chest. So he did always have purple armor. It was just a darker Fisto purple, and now it's more of a brighter purple, and he just looks really sick. Based on the pictures, it looks fucking amazing. And with all my social media, I'm gonna be taking all of these images that I'm seeing online and making Facebook reels and shit, and making Instagram reels and whatnot. So make sure you check those out if you want more up close, detailed shots of all of this shit. But the final two characters we're gonna talk about before I get to the meat and potatoes of the show, we got Deluxe Slushhead, and you have New Adventures Skeletor. So, when I bought New Adventures He-Man, that was officially another brand added within Masterverse. Now we have New Adventures He-Man being worked into the mix as a brand, because you got Revelations, New Eternia, Princess of Power, Netflix CG He-Man, you know what I mean? Now you got New Adventures. Plus you look at Frank Langella and Dolph Lundgren He-Man movie version. So right there you got 6 different sub-brands of Masters of the Universe within Masterverse. So continuing with New Adventures, you got New Adventures Skeletor. So now we got He-Man and Skeletor in this line. But with the Deluxe Slushhead, now we have one of Skeletor's New Adventures goons. So now they're incorporating the New Adventures villains, and I mean, if they're incorporating villains, probably with the next news drop with figures, which is probably going to come in the fall around October or whatnot, because basically everything coming out right now was announced in the fall, end of the summer, and everything that I've been buying over the course of the past couple of months is everything that got announced last year at this year's time. So that's what I'm saying. I'm really starting to figure out how this is going with their news drops and when to expect the new shit to hit stores compared to when it's first revealed and announced. Then it's available for pre-order, that window until it's available. You know what I mean? So I'm starting to figure out that whole schedule, process, routine, and whatnot. So there you go, right there. That's the Origins and Masterverse news drops for 2023, and I mean, as you can see by that picture, look at all that shit. I mean, I could already look at this picture and I could already count 31 reasons why my wife is going to be really fucking mad at me next year. But either way, it's hopefully a lot of fun, and honestly, I mean, I've been having a blast with it. And that's why we're fucking here today, so we can continue to have a blast. So by continuing to have a blast, what we're going to get ready to do is I'm going to open up 2 figures for the Patreon subscribers today. I am going to be opening up, and now I thought about this, because at the end of the day, there's multiple Masters of the Universe toy lines, brands, animated series, that you can't just say He-Man and the Masters of the Universe and expect everyone to know what one you're talking about. And with this latest one, because it's easy just to say Revelations, people know what you're talking about. You say New Adventures He-Man, people know what you're talking about. 2000 and X, they know what you're talking about. When you say, oh yeah, I used to watch He-Man back in the day. Keywords, back in the day. So they know you're talking about the Filmation series. But with the new Netflix CG series, it's such a mouthful. It's the 2021 Netflix CG animated He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. That's a fucking mouthful. I don't want to gag on that every time I fucking try to say it. So I'm just going to refer to Sadie's He-Man, the new He-Man series, simply as He-Man with pants. Because at the end of the day, He-Man and Skeletor are wearing pants. And it's funny because I don't know why they're in pants this time around. maybe everyone that shit on Masters of the Universe made fun of everybody who liked Masters of the Universe because all you're doing is playing with half-naked guys in furry pants. I get it. I totally get it. But I mean, I will say from like a design standpoint, like at first I wasn't too happy with the way these characters looked. At first I was like, oh man, why do they gotta ruin and change shit? But then the more I thought about it, especially when you look at the bigger picture, the 40th anniversary of the brand, the Origins line, the Masterverse line. So you already got two lines that are aimed at collectors and kids, because you're still trying to introduce vintage Masters of the Universe to a new generation of kids, but at the same time, you have that younger generation of brothers and sisters who aren't big enough to play with their brothers and sisters' Origins figures. So they have their own He-Man line. Like my daughter Sadie. And this is Sadie's He-Man in the Masters of the Universe. So Sadie watches He-Man with pants. Sadie loves Skeletor with pants. This is like one of her daily go-tos, along with Bluey and Gabby's Dollhouse. Like, that's what we're watching over and over and over and over and over and over in my house. You know what I mean? So between Gabby's Dollhouse and Bluey, thank God I introduced her to Masters of the Universe, because it's such a wonderful way to switch it up a bit. And as you can see at the front of the table, I have my daughter's He-Man, my daughter's Skeletor figure. I have my daughter's He-Man and Skeletor figure I decided to bring today. Unfortunately, I don't have all of their accessories because my daughter plays with these, and God knows where everything is. I mean, I try to keep everything in her Castle Grayskull. Now that I got her the Castle Grayskull, he doesn't want to fucking stand up. Come on. Now that I got her the Castle Grayskull and shit, she's starting to get it, that's what these figures are for. So once you put two and two together, that's like all she's playing with now is her He-Man and her Skeletor figures. So she's probably pissed off right now because she's probably at the house wanting to play with her shit and wants to know where Me-Man is, and she's not going to be able to find Me-Man because Dad stole him. But yeah, like you got like these are the basic He-Man and Skeletor figures for this CG 2001 animated reboot line aimed at kids. I mean, as you can see, both the He-Man and Skeletor, they have like this oversized, super deformed style look to them. And I mean, at first I wasn't too crazy about it, because I'm like, oh my god, what the hell did they do to them? But then again, once I started watching the actual show, it starts growing on you. Once you hear the voices, once you see the person and understand and learn the personalities, even looking at the subtle new changes they made to familiar old characters. You know what I mean? It's actually quite enjoyable, because on one hand, if you're like me, you know what you grew up with, you know what you fell in love with as a child, and there's something about this fucking series that's always remained with me throughout my life as like my favorite brand of all fucking time. So it's like looking back on these characters, like I remember what made me fall in love with them in the first place. And then looking at this new product that's not aimed at me, instead it's for my children. And you know, that's the thing with being a kid. There's no rules to what you're able to enjoy. Like when it comes to like kids related shit, you know what I mean? Like you could have be a 14-year-old kid watching Nickelodeon. You could be an 8-year-old kid watching Nickelodeon. You could be a freaking 22-year-old stoner fucking still watching Nickelodeon. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. I mean, like you know what I mean? That's why like shit like SpongeBob and Ren and Stimpy like touches people, because it's enjoyable, and honestly, it's one of those things that's, you know, it's like the opening to The Wizard of Oz. They keep throwing out the phrase, "This is for the young at heart." And it's like there's something about shit if you're able to just sit there and enjoy it, no matter how fucked up the world is. Just enjoy the little things, and that's the thing. I mean, you could sit there and be toxic and complain about a toy line because it's not identical to everything you had as a child, but that's the thing. It's not about you as a child. This reinvented brand is for your children. This is for you to tell your stories of what your He-Man was like while your kids are learning all about it. And you know what I mean? And it's like, just because it's different doesn't mean it's not good. I mean, look at G.I. Joe. You have a vintage line of G.I. Joe that started in the 60s where it was all based on war, right? So it was all based on classic wars and real soldiers and, the armed forces and the military. So G.I. Joe meant one thing when it was in the 60s to the 70s. But the reality is with G.I. Joe, people stopped buying G.I. Joe around Vietnam. Because once you had people that were against the war, Hasbro wasn't making money off G.I. Joe and Vietnam was going down. They actually pulled back from G.I. Joe for a bit. They tried doing I believe they tried getting the $6 million man license or something and didn't get it. So instead G.I. Joe became like Action Man or something like that. But basically G.I. Joe had to reinvent itself for the 80s. That's why G.I. Joe went from like the 12-inch like dolls to like the 3.5-inch figures with the O-ring bodies and the rubber bands and whatnot. You know what I mean? With Cobra Commander and Duke and Scarlet and Destro and Snake Eyes and everything that most people know is G.I. Joe. All the 80s kids know their G.I. Joe. And their G.I. Joe is the 3.5-inch, 3.25-inch, or you know what I mean? Fucking the 80s G.I. Joe figures. But that was new G.I. Joe. Because there was a generation of kids who were adults that played with the old G.I. Joes that looked at 80s G.I. Joes and said, that's not my G.I. Joe. That's not what G.I. Joe looked like when I was a kid. Same thing with this He-Man. It's for a different generation. And that's what's just so enjoyable about it. Because, I'm just looking at it from an 80s kid that was in love with He-Man. I got my first He-Man figures when I was 3. I met He-Man when I was 3. My daughter Sadie met He-Man when she was 1.5 years, even though she wasn't able to say his name fully correctly until she's 2.5. So it's like, this is my daughter's He-Man and Skeletor. Sadie will always look at this as her OG He-Man and Skeletor. And mine are always going to be the weird He-Man and Skeletors to Sadie. So that's what's really fucking dope about all of this. So without any further delay, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here for this episode. I'm going to go open up He-Man and Skeletor with pants. If you want to watch me open these bad boys, please head on over to the Patreon. Subscribe for 30 days for just $1. Get access to all the bonus content I produce since I've started this show. You get your name in the credits for 30 days. And there's all sorts of shit for you to check out. And there's more shit to come here on Ian versus Daddybones. So head on over to the socials. You can follow me on Twitter, Ian vs Daddybones. I'm on Instagram, Ian Daddybones. You can hit up and like the Facebook page, Ian Daddybones. We're on TikTok, so all over the place. So thank you very much for tuning into the show today. I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you would do so kindly, just hit that share button, spread the word, and help somebody else find their way to Ian versus Daddybones. And I will see you next week. Cheers, Pete! Alright, I don't like that. I'm going to go ahead and end that different. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and head out of here. I'm going to open up these two bad boys for the Patreon subscribers. Again, if you want to watch me open up He-Man and Skeletor with pants, kindly head on over to the patreon.com/Ian versus Daddybones. Throw me $1 for 30 days of bonus content. Get your name in the credits. If that's not good enough for you, just head on over to the YouTube channel, click that subscribe button, click that bell notification, hit that like button, comment, interact. Do what you got to do to make sure you know when the next episode of Ian vs. Daddybones is getting ready to drop. We're on all sorts of social medias, from TikTok to Instagram to Twitter. Got the Facebook page. Go check it out. Until next time, cheers, Pete!